If you have been part of the spiritual community for a while, then you must be familiar with the many promises of an approaching ascension into a glorious fifth dimensional reality. These claims are always made by a channel or New Age guru claiming to be receiving messages from benevolent higher dimensional beings or friendly ETs whose purpose is to help humanity in our planetary ascension process. Others receive similar messages through popular hypnosis techniques where a person's higher self, future self, or spirit guides are supposedly the ones being contacted. However, every single time when the promised physical ascension into 5D does not happen, the excuses are always that we simply shifted into a different timeline or that the ascension had to be pushed back in order to give more souls additional time to complete their spiritual work and free themselves from 3D oppression. Other times, as the given ascension date approaches, the original specific prophetic details will be slowly restated, sanitized, watered down, or flat out changed in a way that allows for pretty much any outcome to be claimed as prophecy being fulfilled. And of course, when someone calls attention to these contradictions or tactics, they are immediately labeled as being fear-based, low vibrational, not spiritual enough, selfish, or a misinformationist, and so on and so forth. This approach allows for the false light to cleverly deflect valid points without having to address them, which allows for the deception to continue as intended. So now that you know this, the next question is, why is this being done, and how is it that so many individuals are being deceived? The false light knows that many awakening souls are yearning for a better world free from the constant struggle of our current third dimension. These individuals and non-physical beings who operate within the dark false light are exploiting a deep-seated basic human desire to be saved by an outside savior or powerful force that promises a better life of peace, love, joy, and abundance on all levels. The aim is to emotionally pacify and manipulate enough awakening people into spiritual complacency, which slows down and sabotages personal spiritual growth, and thus hijacking the ascension process. This happens when individuals believe an outside power is about to help them ascend into 5D, so they neglect their inner spiritual work. Their motivation for integrating the shadow self, clearing traumas, and facing personal demons is quickly discarded as they sit back and wait for their shift into the fifth dimension. Many of these people will also withdraw from the outside world as they no longer have an incentive to speak up or take action against the service to self-controllers and their agenda. After all, what happens in this 3D world will no longer be their problem. Ultimately, though, when the ascension fails to materialize, many of these lightworkers, starseeds, and wayshowers will become disappointed, discouraged, and oftentimes severely depressed. Doubts will creep in, and after several broken promises of an ascension into 5D that never happens, many will abandon or become complacent in their spiritual path, and their true spiritual purpose and unique energetic contribution in this spiritual war will be lost. This, of course, is what the dark wants. These entities also love feeding off the chaos, fear, and low vibrational energies emanating from those who fall victim to their deception. In essence, by crippling or removing as many spiritual warriors from the front lines and delaying their personal ascension process, the overall fight against the dark forces becomes weakened and compromised, which can be catastrophic not only in our 3D reality, but on the multi-dimensional level as well. For this reason, being able to discern and detect at least a basic level of false light deception is crucial, as it will help you and other awakening souls avoid being sabotaged but also manipulated into unknowingly spreading false light teachings to those you are trying to help. Overall, false light beings and individuals will purposely provide roughly about 90% of true high-level spiritual wisdom, which will resonate deeply on a personal spiritual level, and many will initially find these teachings highly beneficial and uplifting. This, of course, is done to gain your trust. Eventually, though, the remaining 10% of deliberate disinformation will be carefully presented in ways that are geared to deceive, manipulate, control, lead astray, and ultimately destroy your personal ascension process. Initially, when these false light teachings are presented, many people may sense that something is off or not quite right with what is being said, but because this information is wrapped around and covered up with so much divine truth, and also because you desperately want what you are being told to be true, the ego will step in and override that higher inner voice and wisdom within you that is trying to warn you. So you will agree and end up accepting false light teachings as ultimate truth. Many others who lack the ability for true discernment will simply buy into the deception without hesitation and will unknowingly help spread misinformation to the masses. With that being said, in no specific order, I will now discuss the 5 most common false light 5D Ascension teachings that are being heavily pushed. Number 1. Messages telling you that you are here to shift the entire collective into 5D. Although this sounds nice, the higher truth is that not everyone is meant to ascend at the same time, or is ready to ascend for that matter. Many other humans operate as agent smiths and will defend the current system until the end. Another segment of the population has aligned itself with the false light, and that is the pre-agreement or karmic path they must play out. Given this reality and the fact that everyone grows and evolves at their own pace, to accept the thought implant that your personal ascension must be tied to everyone else's will only serve to bind you to the present planet timeline for many more lifetimes. And yes, there are light workers and starseeds who have willingly taken on that soul contract, and if that is you, then you will know it and feel it deep in your core. But that pre-agreement does not apply to most light workers or starseeds. Many are here to serve a specific purpose, then move on to other worlds, realities, or a higher timeline. Number 2. Promoting only 5D consciousness as the highest level of 5D ascension. This teaching wants you to believe that 5D ascension is only a higher state of mind or level of consciousness, and that the physical body has no major role in the ascension journey. People are encouraged to focus purely on ascending their consciousness and not the physical body. Although achieving 5D consciousness or higher is crucial in your overall ascension, it is by no means the end of the ascension journey. Yes, for most, this will be the highest level that could possibly be achieved in this lifetime, especially if they believe that's the highest they can go. However, there have always been a small percentage of awakened individuals throughout history that have been able to successfully raise their physical vibration enough and sustain it to allow them to transmute their physical body and take it with them into 5D reality. The biblical story of Jesus and the Tibetan rainbow body transmutations are examples of physical ascension. For this reason, it's crucial not to limit yourself, but instead, always aim for the highest ascension level possible, but without attachment. In truth, once we start to witness and hear about individuals achieving this level of physical ascension, it will speed up the overall ascension process for everyone who chooses it, as it will no longer be an abstract idea, but a real possibility available to anyone who chooses to accept it. The dark knows this and is always trying to delay, slow down, or hijack your ascension process by limiting your true potential. Number 3. Excuses that justify delaying the ascension, but never moving it ahead. A classic false light tactic is to justify a failed promised ascension date by claiming that certain conditions changed or a timeline shift occurred that pushed the ascension date further back. Other times, a so-called collective of higher light beings or ET races will take it upon themselves to intervene without being asked to do so and delay the ascension for the human collective, which they will claim is for everyone's benefit. Of course, the ascension will always continue to be pushed further and further down the timeline. You will never hear them say, "Surprise! I know we told you the ascension was next month, but get ready, it's happening tomorrow." That will never happen. The goal is to always dangle the ascension carrot in front of you to pacify you, control you, and ultimately waste your time by leading you astray. Number 4, ascension or salvation coming from outside you. As much as we would love to have an outside power save the world from all the darkness we are witnessing, the truth is that the true natural ascension process and salvation happens from within. As we do our inner spiritual work, we expand upon our enlightenment and become stronger spiritual beings. The awakening journey isn't always easy, but it's a process we must engage in. In doing so, we become better able to discern and see through the false light deception and accelerate the ascension process, not only for ourselves, but for those in the collective who are ready. For this reason, be alert and wary of any messages from outside saviors offering to move you into the express lane leading you into a full, accelerated 5D ascension. At best, they will be lies as I have already described. At worst, these beings could be leading you into an artificial 5D matrix of their own making, but I will go into that in a future video. Number 5, messages stating that love and light is all you need. Another classic false light tactic is to neutralize any real threat from those who are awakening spiritually by brainwashing them into believing that all you have to do is focus on love and light. Any direct action is discouraged as being unspiritual or low vibrational, as it will feed and empower the dark. This, of course, is a lie intended to allow the dark to push forward with their agenda without any real resistance. Unfortunately, this common false light thought implant makes it easy for many light workers, starseeds, and way showers who are supposed to take a much more active spiritual warrior role to instead bypass their true purpose and take a back seat not only in the outer world, but in their inner world as well. By focusing purely on the positive, many will avoid doing the difficult but necessary work of looking at their own shadow and integrating the darkness within, which is a very crucial step in the spiritual alchemical process. So before concluding, I want to encourage you to please leave a comment sharing what other false light teachings you have experienced and feel others should be made aware of. Also, this video is not intended to shame anyone. Many of us have fallen victim to some form of false light teaching or manipulation while on our spiritual journey. It takes courage to look into the mirror and make a course correction, and there's absolutely no shame in that. In these crucial times, being aware of how the false light operates within the spiritual community is essential for anyone who truly wants to make a positive difference in this world. The current phase of the spiritual war can be scary, but the strongest and most frightening battle always happens within us first. Facing our demons and awakening to our true power as creator beings is what the dark forces fear the most. But ultimately, that is where your true 5D ascension begins. In the end, you are powerful God creators who hold the keys to your own ascension within you, and only you can unlock that power. Thank you for watching. Please like, comment, and share. Don't forget to subscribe and click on the bell to get notified of future videos.